Wow, wonderful. Here we are, we're live, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have with me today two just wonderful people. This whole concept of service is so important. As you know, that I'm president of the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness and the Heartfelt Foundation. And the Heartfelt Foundation is the service arm. These were organizations formed by John Roger, and he really emphasized the importance of service in a spiritual life. And this was the critical thing. And he had said something that was really, to me, so extremely important, and has in many ways defined my life, which is that unconditional service is the highest consciousness that we can demonstrate. So even though we may call ourselves spiritual and we may have all of these ideals, to me, if we really want to enter into a consciousness of the highest consciousness in this world, then service is the answer to that. And also, along with that, Martin Luther King said that anybody can be great because anyone can serve. And he went on to say, look, you don't need a degree to serve. You don't need this to serve. You don't need this to serve. Anybody can serve. So if we take those two things and we say, this service is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter what your station is in life. Doesn't matter where you are, how much money you have, how spiritual you think you are. Anybody on the planet, from the homeless person to the billionaire, can be great, and they can have the highest consciousness if they're serving. So that's the ideal. We know that it's good to serve. But then there's people that are demonstrating that service. And I've wanted to really start, we're starting out here because I want to have a program, once a month or once every other month where we actually interview people who are really being of service, and in a way that perhaps expands beyond the boundaries of what would be comfortable. And so ideally, I was so thrilled to be introduced to Heavenly, Hughes, and Victor Hodgson, who have this organization called My Tribe Rise. And I think that they have just come, really, they've been a very busy morning because they've just received an award, which I really want to hear all about, which is marvelous. Congratulations. But this is the thing. And this is what we're going to be talking about. They are on the streets of Los Angeles, and they are dealing with gangs. And to me, my goodness, that is really putting yourself out there. And I want to hear what it takes to be able to do that, to care so much about human beings that in my way of looking at it, you're putting your life at risk to serve the greater community. And the other focus of them, which is important as well for the work that we do within the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness, of course, we have a sister organization called the Institute for Individual and World Peace. And their mission, if you read their website, My Tribe Rise, is peace in the community as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce Heavenly, Hughes, and Victor Hodgson. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us here, Paul Kaye. We really appreciate it. And yes, we thank Paul Livingston, who introduced us to you. It's just a pleasure to be around like-minded people. That's what tribe means. Like-minded people wanting to do something productive in the community. So again, we thank you so much for having us here. My name is Heavenly Hughes.
And I'm Victor Hodgson.
And we are the co-founders of My Tribe Rise. And yes, we did. We were just in a award ceremony. We were like, oh, I'm hoping we have enough time to get here at 12. We literally just 2 minutes before we got on just came out of that award ceremony. And we did get a congressional award from Congresswoman Judy Chu. And I'll just read really quick what it says. It says, Certificate of Congressional Recognition presented to My Tribe Rise for Nonprofit of the Year in recognizing of your outstanding contribution to the people of the 27th Congressional District. Your unwavering dedication, compassion, and selfless commitment to serve the community has left an immense positive impact on society. Congratulations to your tremendous accomplishment. And yes, that was for, we were heroes during the pandemic. Thank you so much. And we just want to say thank you to all of our community leaders and community partners, everyone who participate to really fuel the mission of My Tribe Rise.
Well, and congratulations. I mean, that's tremendous. And I feel so kind of, I couldn't be happier. I mean, it's perfect timing, right, that we would have this interview just after you've, received this wonderful award. Congratulations. It's so exciting. Why don't you just talk about the mission of My Tribe Rise and where you're going as an organization?
My Tribe Rise, the mission of My Tribe Rise is to create opportunities for peace, positive energy, and shared social justice values. My Tribe Rise focuses on police transformation and reform, addressing food insecurities and economic injustice, working to end gang violence, and creating opportunities for peace.
Let's start. So just so you know, when we say peace, we mean positive energy activates constant elevation. And we want to avert violence in our neighborhoods, avert violence in our community. So the best way is to be an example of positive energy. So that's why we do what we can to be that example and serve the needs. I love what you shared earlier about Martin Luther King, that we all can do good if we serve. And I don't have the exact quote, but we use that quote quite often. Victor uses that quote quite often.
Yes, Paul, I believe you mentioned it earlier. Like we all could. How it go, Paul? I don't want to be incorrect. We all could be great because we all could serve.
We all can be great because we all can serve. That's exactly how it is, and that's what we feel. We feel that we need to be compassionate. When we say radically compassionate for our neighbors, our loved ones, our friends, for those that may be going through hardship, hard times, maybe have lost their way, and that's what we do. We offer resources and programs that allows opportunity for those who have lost their way to get on the right track, to have that opportunity for redemption in their life.
Oh, that's absolutely marvelous. And I'm looking forward to really hearing stories where, you really say, you took someone and there was that redemption. I can't wait to hear that. We'll get to that later on. But what I want to do is like, let's really start from the beginning here, because one of the things that fascinates me, I mean, for example, if you told me just the word gangs, okay, the word gangs to me is terrifying. Okay, I'll just be really honest. I mean, it's terrifying. I mean, it's just like, stay as far away from a gang as possible. And yet, we have in our midst Victor, who was an ex-gang member. And here I'm looking at a loving, beautiful man. And I'm saying, and I'm trying to stay as far away as that. I should be just giving him just this huge hug, not staying as far away. So Victor, tell us, I mean, right from the beginning, because I'm sure that our audience is going to be fascinated. How do you get in a gang, and how do you get out of a gang, and what inspires you now to help gang members? I'm going to be really fascinated by what you have to say.
Okay, well, first I want to start off giving off the origins of Bloods and Crips, their origins of how they were manifested into these gangs. Okay, and you'll be very surprised to find out what the original meanings were and what these groups actually represented at that early time. And it was not negative. So we're talking early 1970s. Crips were a branch off of the Black Panther Party movement. The Crips was organized to be the watch out why the Black Panthers would have meetings for anyone trying to infiltrate their meeting, police, or anything like that. So that was one of the origins of the Crips.
And what did that mean?
The Crips actually stood for, and this is the acronym, California Revolutionary, or California Revolution in Progress. Now, if you put an S on the Crips as plural, that would also stand for California Revolutionary in Progress Servants.
So originally, Crips were put in place to be servants to the community.
To the community.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the Bloods, the acronym for Blood, was brotherly love overcomes our death. If you write out Blood and break it down to an acronym, that's what the original meanings were. And all this was established in the early 1970s. And believe it or not, it was an alliance between the Bloods and Crips. There was no killing. They got along.
Their purpose was unified to be able to protect the community. You know, back in the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of racial injustice going on. So that's the original way. And then something happened down the line.
Yes, then something happened down the line. But to continue this, the Crips were first before the Bloods, and the Crips were to police the police, to defend ourselves off of the white supremacy that was coming out of Baldwin Park and Southgate,
right in Los Angeles County,
and in other areas.
And so some people don't know that Crips and Bloods did originate. Those two groups both originated right in Los Angeles County. That's back in the 70s.
That is correct. Now we're about to get into the meat and gravy of things, of how I joined. And keep in mind that the Crips were growing very largely at a rapid pace. One of the more aggressive organizations at that time. And I believe the first shootings was somewhere in the early, like 1972, 73. And I believe maybe a Crip shot first, which started the bloodshed that spread it over so many years. Now, my personal experience of joining a gang was, I lived in Altadena, California. In that area was Crips. Our neighboring city, Pasadena, were Bloods. My influence was my surroundings. You are a product of your environment. I came from a good family. They did the best they could. It was my choice. And you got to understand, we don't look at each other as gang members. We look at each other as family or fraternity. So it's a brotherhood. And that's one thing that inside of a gang, we understand that. Outside of it, people are looking at us, oh, those are gang members. We looking at each other as family. So how would you protect your family? That's the same way we thought. So that love, unfortunately, grew out of violence to anyone that opposed us. By joining this gang, it actually, believe it or not, a lot of people that come from a one-parent home are only being raised by his mom or the grandmother, or in poverty. The gang is an outlet that will fill some of these voids in your life. A lot of people join because of peer pressure, because of the area you may live in.
And a lot of times looking for something to be a part of. We know as human beings, we always want to connect to something. And oftentimes that's what was around, because I also was born and raised in Altadena. And when I would walk outside my house, that's all we would see were Crips all around us. And we didn't necessarily, and you're right, Paul, when you think of gangs, as a young girl raised around Crips, I was scared. I was frightened to walk outside and know that there's a host of Crips standing all around or doing what they may be doing.
Yes. This is true. And by joining this gang, we defended one another. So when a rival would come by shooting and shoot one of my friends, now I feel you attack my family. So now all I'm looking for is retaliation. And unfortunately, this pain caused this anger and this hate towards someone that looks like me. You know, that this anger and hate should not be there, but unfortunately, it was there. You know, the gang gets their clout or their representation of being the most deadliest, the most violent. So we're in competition with all the other gangs, but we want to stand out, so we want to be the most violent.
And I know that I also experienced seeing, because it's so interesting to hear when Victor and I were raised like right around a corner from one another, but we didn't meet each other until adulthood. And although he was from Altadena Block Crip, I had a brother who was from his rivalry gang, the Bloods, the Pasadena Denver Lanes. And I recall when my brother became part of this group of where he felt like these are his family, I felt like he put his actual family in danger because we became targets because we lived right in the midst of Crips, but he was a part of the rivalry gang. And that is one reason why I know both of us, we are really committed to bringing a new set of minds, a new mindset. When you talked about a higher consciousness, yeah, the word gang, the stigma behind the word gang is so negative. And so why we use the word tribe is because we want to first put in the people's minds something different. Think of yourself of something different. So I just want to let him go back into how things were when we were young, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. It was rough out there with gang violence.
Yeah, gang violence was really, really, really bad at that time. Now, understand, I was born in 1971. I started gangbanging at a very young age. I was born in 1971. By 1981, I joined the gang by 10 years old. What does a 10-year-old have any business wanting to do that? I should just been wanting to play some type of softball, you know, be part of the community and things like that. But no, unfortunately, that was not it. I joined the gang and I was very proud of it because with that, no one would just mess with me, but I can mess with anybody. And I want to say that it's a mindset that we have. It's just like you teaching your young kid how to grow up to be a good citizen in life. Well, in the gang culture, they're teaching you, but it's not to be the best citizen in life. It's to be the best gangbanger in life. And I also want to share that it's a mindset, just like when we teach our kids. The cognitive brain is dealing with part of the brain that stores memory and trauma. The cognitive brain functions are the mental process that allows us to receive, select, store, transform, develop, and recover information that we receive from external stimuli. The process allows us to understand and relate to the world more effectively. People that this affects are all of us. However, most groups that are effective in a negative way are people who have been molested, sexually assaulted, war vets, gangbangers, oppressed people, law enforcement, and CEOs of large companies. All the above mentioned groups probably experience post-traumatic stress.
And I would say I definitely know it was very stressful. Not only would I believe it was stressful on my brother being a part of a gang and even stressful on Victor, it was also stressful on the family members, on our mothers. As a sibling, it was very stressful. And I just would like to ask you, Godi or Victor, when you were 11 years old, why did you feel like you decided to join a gang? And what stimuli did you receive from being a part of it?
What prompted me to join is my environment. My neighbor next door was also involved. And understand, we're kids, so we're not in a gang yet, but we're following the older ones. So all my friends, like I say, are like my family, my community friends. We all grow up following the same traits, the same thing. So there was a bond there. So it wasn't like I'm the only one joining. It's like all my friends are joining. So I'm part of this family.
So that is true, that especially there in Altadena, it was Crips everywhere. Like that was the culture in Altadena on the west side where we was raised. That's what we saw. I remember one reason why my brother did not become a Crip, because he felt like all the Crips in the neighborhood were bullying him. Will say, what set you from? Where you come from? And he didn't like that. And so he felt like he was kind of bullied by the Crips in our neighborhood. And so he ended up going and joining the rivalry group, which were the Bloods. So it was easy. When they say the words, you're a product of your environment, back in the 80s, that's what was big around in the neighborhood that we were raised in, was gangs and gang violence.
Yes, yes. And I like to add that, you know how you raise your child and your child does good in school and your child gets to college and they are attending a university such as Penn State. Well, for us, it was the opposite. We was raised as gang members and we wanted to cause so much chaos, we would shoot you and we would go to jail. And instead of going to Penn State, we went to the state pen. And that was an honor for us. That was a badge of honor. That was our degree. And I tell you no lie. I tell you no lie when I say this. This is how they think. That going to prison is a badge of honor. Causing chaos in the community is a badge of honor. Then you come home from doing 4 or 5 years. So it's like coming home from college of doing 4 or 5 years and you praising your community for doing this great work, attending college. Well, coming out of prison as a gang member, you did this time for your neighborhood. You made it to the top. You're considered an OG now, original gangster. That's what the OG stands for. So that's just like having a doctorate's degree. And I tell you no lie when I say this. They are proud of this. So my tribe Rise steps in and try give a different way of thinking. We need to change the mindset. That's the whole thing about my tribe Rise, raising to a higher consciousness. So this is what we're teaching out there to these people in the community. And I'm going to tell you something, in this day and age, people want to change. They're tired. Game bangers are tired. Yeah. White folks are tired. Black people are tired. We're tired. The community is tired of the violence. Yeah. And this is where my tribe Rise step in to change that mind state. And who better to speak on this than someone that lived this lifestyle?
Who are right there in it. And I just, that's the biggest thing, is transforming our mind. I think even in the word that we read, the scriptures, it says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's where change really happens, is when we come to that point where we're tired of the violence. We're tired of losing. Like as a sibling, when my brother would be going to jail, or if he was coming back and he would have blood all over him, knowing that he was in a horrible fight, we were filled with tears and pain and hurt. And even that, he got tired of seeing us hurting. Like it was not, we didn't look at it as the same as he mentioned. Oh, this is big time if we're able to rob someone or kill someone or go to prison. For us and the family, all it brought was a lot of pain. Continual pain, year after year after year. And that's what we really even focus on when we're talking to young people who need some mentoring and some direction. Do you want to bring your family all this pain? Do you want to leave them hurt years after years after years? And so we use our experience as someone, as Victor being in the gang and as a sibling of a gang member, how it affects all of us, the family as a whole, and how it affects the community, innocent bystanders, those of our neighbors and our friends and our community members. It brings a lot of pain.
And so, I mean, I'm finding this absolutely riveting, because you're opening a world for me which I've completely shut out. I mean, it's just like you hear this on the periphery. And as I opened up by saying, I've wanted to stay away from all of this, although it's in my consciousness. I live in the center of Los Angeles, and I go for a walk in the neighborhood, and even to this day, I said to my wife, what I don't think I should be wearing a red or a blue T-shirts, which are the colors of the Crips and the Bloods, as I understand it. It's just like I don't want to be provocative anyway, so I'm just trying to find neutral colors. So that's how it's in my mind. Even, I mean, as crazy as that may sound, because I'm not attuned to that world. My wife and I, we in the 2000, we moved downtown. And there was this place called the Nickel. We were at 4th and Main, which was the heart of downtown. And that was before downtown was gentrified. It was a pretty rough place. And we would pass the Nickel, which was at 5th and Main. And it was packed with people doing crack cocaine. Wow. And I never saw anybody doing crack cocaine. And my wife, who's not a drug addict by any means, but clearly had different antenna, would go by, and I say, well, who are the people doing crack cocaine? She goes, there's one over there, there's one over there, this is absolute truth. There's one over there, there's one over there, there's one over there, there's one over there. And I could never see it. And I think it's the same with probably with the gangs. There's probably gang members all around, but I don't have any antenna. I don't have any way of seeing it, which in a way I think is probably a good thing. I'm not judging anybody. So this is just opening up a world. So please tell us, like, your community. First of all, just before we end the program, I want to hear how Victor got himself out of the gang and that process. But before we even go there, here you are talking to the gang folks, or the tribe. Let's call it tribe. So you're going into a tribe. Let's start changing our mindsets here, because as we say that we're looking at it from the outside as gangs and demonizing it in a way, and internally they're looking at it as family. And I think, just let's call it a tribe. So here you are going into a tribe, and of course having the credibility, having been knowing the culture. What wins have you had? What successes have you had? And what have your failures been? Because I think we could all learn from the failures too. And where do you see all of this going?
And when you say what wins, are you referring to as the organization?
As the organization and personally as well. And anything where you can say that we made a difference here in this person's life or in this sector or any time, but the differences you're making.
Well, first, I just want to add a little more background about the culture within tribes as they're growing up. A lot of times people are coming from poor families, just people who are lacking educational justice, lacking equity within the communities. A lot of times I can just think of different people in our neighborhoods, they were just without. And so having this connection within tribes made them feel like, well, we'll help each other. Even if they felt like, oh, we're going to go rob somebody, they felt like they were helping one another to be able to get some food on their table. Or if they are even dealing with something with some type of racial hate. All these things were addressed within the culture of this tribe. And so a lot of times what we do is try and harness those type of leadership skills, those type of love for community, love for one another, and just redirect their actions, how you can use those skills to benefit and be productive in the community. So did you want to kind of go more into what Paul was talking about as far as some of pros
and cons?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, let's talk.
I mean, we all know the cons would be the negativity of joining a gang and things like that. But even some of my friends do follow my tribe rise, and the positive, the pro is like when we have a food giveaway, when we're distributing food in the community, we may have Bloods and Crips that were once rivals that are side by side giving back to the community because they have so much love for their community and understand within the tribe, there is leadership. It may not be the leadership that we all are familiar with, but it is leadership. It is someone leading. So it's very strong people within the tribe. You just have to change the mindset of them. So there has been some positive things, and believe me, it's an ongoing work. because what happens is you will always have those, and it's mostly the older ones that support the peace movement. It's the younger ones that do not.
That's hard to reach.
And your approach to them cannot be, oh, what you're doing is wrong, but they looking at you, but you did it, and I learned from you. So your approach to the younger people have to be, oh, I'm not telling you don't do this. What I'm telling you, I have another opportunity for you. I have a job opportunity for you. And this will occupy their time where they're not on the streets being influenced by negative things. You want to put positive things in front of them, because if we take something away, we have to replace it with something.
Right. And I'll say that we started this mission. Well, Victor, you didn't really get into that, and I really wanted him to share how he transformed his mind, how he made changes in his life. And because I know his family and him going to prison was all kind of tough. Go ahead.
Going in and out of jail over the course of my life, over 10 times, in and out of jail, in and out. I'm sitting in jail one day and I'm saying to myself, there has to be a better way to live life. This is no longer working for me. I'm tired of it. And I want to come back to jail. I'm tired of it. And once you start having that mindset, light bulbs start going off.
And I know you brought up about your family, how your family was, your mother was.
Oh, my mother was very hurt. She was under a lot of stress. Under stress, I didn't even know how much pain and suffering I was putting my mother through. Mm-hmm. And that hurted me to know I was putting her through this. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, light bulbs start going off. You start waking up. It's just like, when you're a child, you do childlike things. Then when you become an adult, you're more responsible. You start doing things as an adult.
And you think differently.
Yeah, you think differently. So my change came from sitting in jail. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make a change. And I would like to add, during this time, I have received a degree in web design and multimedia from the University of Phoenix.
And you also received your GED while you were in jail.
I received my GED while sitting in the county jail. I had to do like 8 or 9 months, and I occupied my time to do something positive and constructive.
And later, when you came out, that's when he was able to get his degree.
Yeah, in college. So I did have some hurdles I had to go jump over, but I did see light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm doing positive things now. And you feel good when you receive your GED. You feel good when you receive a degree from the university. Then you can start sharing these positive things with your friends.
And that is the main way that change comes is by leadership, is by example. And so his young, we call them young homies, young tribe members, when they see and he gives his testimony of what he's accomplished since he decided to make a change in the community. He doesn't curse the younger generation that's doing what he once was doing, but we realize that everyone just want to be embraced. So we embrace them. So a lot of times when you can reach that person, we always say we reach one, and teach one, then that person will go and reach another. And that's how it goes on and on and on, is for each person that we reach, each person that comes out and joins one of the programs, one of the outreach, and they have a good experience. So that's what we always believe and pray for whenever we have an event. And we started with our Walking for Peace. And I just want to go there. I was going to share about our Walking for Peace. The purpose of Walking for Peace, as I already mentioned, peace is positive energy, activates constant elevation. There was an uptick in violence. We see gun violence everywhere, and we believe everybody's watching these all through the news, all this negative interactions, these negative actions happening in the community. We have to get out there and show that there is a way to be positive. There is positive actions happening in our community. We wanted the media to see it. Show these young people positive actions happening in the community. Show these young people reformed and redeemed tribe members who are doing things positive in the community, because we're heavy with hearing all and seeing all the negatives. So we started our Walking for Peace with several different organizations. We brought Altadena and Pasadena and also Los Angeles tribe members all in one place. And we started passing out information of just ways for better living, ways to do things that were had information about resources, whether it was jobs, whether it was education, and also just going door to door saying hello. Saying hello, because you know how you mentioned, Paul, how when you hear the word gang, or and even sometimes when people just see people of a different color, a different status, people may not want to embrace. So we just wanted to go say hello to our neighbors. And so we would have not only Bloods and Crips, we would have law enforcement, we would have city council members, and just community members. We would have clergy. We would purposely want to bring every aspect of the community in one space, and we will walk throughout the community embracing others. And that's how we really started. That was one of our first outreach, was Walking for Peace.
Yes.
Wow. And thank you for that. And when, Victor, you decided, when you had this awakening that things have to be different, then you go back to your tribe, and how do you explain that you don't want to be a part of this anymore? How does a person just get out of it?
I'm going to tell you something. You never really walk away 100%. You probably no longer doing the negative things that you used to do, because it's just like a police officer. He will always be known as a police officer, even when he retired. Oh, yeah, that's my neighbor. He's a retired cop. Or a fireman. Yeah, he was a retired fireman. Oh, Victor, yeah, he's a retired gangbanger. You see what I'm saying? It's the same scenario, but it's a stigma behind that you can't leave the gang, they'll kill you. That's not true. That's not true. I don't know where that came from. You can leave it. It's just that it's how you leave. Some leave departing on a positive note, trying to share and change the mindset of the ones that's still in it. Then some just leave and have nothing else to do with it. They may move out of state and you just never see them again.
I think it was really difficult, though, when we started this. And I just want to share, because I remember everything, all the steps that we went through. And when we first started this peace movement, a lot of Victor's friends,
they was angry with me.
His
they
homies,
was mad.
They were not pleased. We would invite them to come, and they would say, well, what are y'all trying to do? What are y'all trying to do? And I would encourage Victor, stay on your square of right standing, stay on your square of truth, stay on your square of compassion, even for the other tribe members, for your homeboys, for those that you love. Because I would hear Victor say, I don't want us to lose no more. I don't want us to die no more. And a lot of times, tribe members, they weren't accepting. So what I believe really brought tribe members, because now his homeboys come, they come out to our events, they come to our dinners, to our different positive community engagements. But it took a year. It took a little while for them to come around. Yeah. But what Victor did was stay consistent. Stay consistent. And even when there was an uptick in violence and rivalry, he stayed consistent that we're not going to retaliate. We're going to embrace others with love, even the rivalry groups. He would continue to show them, I'm bringing tribe members together. We had a huge luncheon with about 300 or 400 tribe members across Los Angeles County. And a lot of his homies from Altadena all came down, homies that are still active.
Yeah.
And they came down and saw, wow.
But that's a start. That's a start.
This is what they're doing. This is really happening. Tribe members are coming together in peace. They're coming together in unity. And we wanted to save each other's lives. We want to save the life of the young people. And I really think about the mothers. There's this group called A Mother's Voice that we work closely with. And she represents, her son died due to gang violence. Her son was a gang member or a tribe member, and he died due to tribe violence, gun violence. And her voice still cries out to the different tribe members saying, please, this type of negative actions and retaliation and fighting, especially amongst even the Black community. I lost my son behind it. And this one other family member that's a part of A Mother's Voice, she lost three sons due to tribe and gun violence. And so we use these testimonies to touch the conscience and the hearts of those who are young and give them an opportunity to make some changes.
Yes. Yes.
So when you ask how it was, the tribe members, they weren't really open in receiving to this change in Victor's life.
Yeah. It took a while. And just to let you know, Paul, I was threatened.
Yep.
I was threatened. But the person that threatened me, he was a lower caliber than me. So that got rectified very quickly.
Yeah.
It got rectified very quickly. He was a lower caliber than I was.
So, and when he say lower caliber, you know how he brought up like OG. They have it. OG gangsters, double OG, triple OG. And that just means people who that has been around tribe members and a part of that culture for a long time. And not only was he threatened, we got death threats. We were told that we need to stop this. It ain't no peace because we done lost too many people. And I think that's the hardest part is those who have lost people.
Yes.
They don't want peace. They don't want to have conflict resolution, because that's one of our other outreaches, brothers connecting with brothers, where we sit down with two different rivalry tribes and ask them to have conflict resolution. Let's talk about this. How can we be able to, we don't have to be buddy sitting with each other every day, but how can we respect one another? How can we have compassion for our lives? So yeah, so with that part, Paul, it was hard, and to get people to be receptive to peace, but we just kept moving forward.
Yeah, keep moving forward.
And that's what fascinates me. And of course, you know, one of the keynotes of this talk is like, what is it inside of you both that you have the strength? You talked about sitting, you know, standing on your square, which was an interesting metaphor. But it's just like, what is it in you both that you just go, you know, we want to give our lives to this, and even in the midst of death threats and negativity, and even in an uptick of violence, I'm not going to stand down. I'm going to stand in who I am and what I'm doing. What is that inside of you that does that?
Well, Paul, you know, it's the compassion that we have for our community and the change that we want to see. And understand, it's not really our plan, it's God's plan. We're just the vessels that's moving this along.
Right. And we really believe that when this came into our heart, that this was established by the Most High, that compassion that's deep in our core, to be right standing and be able to be compassionate and show love and give back to our community. I know a lot of Victor's homies that are a part of My Tribe Rise. I hear them say all the time, this is true ministry. This is true ministry, giving back to the community. And I hear different tribe members saying, you know, we took a lot from this community. It's time for us to give back. Yeah. Those are stories that really just lift us up. When I hear tribe members giving their testimonies, that keeps us going. And when we hear young tribe members, young people, there's like, you know, I don't know if we're ready, but we'll come. When just sitting there in the presence of the Most High, sitting in the presence of positive energy, I believe it penetrates and brings change. And so those are testimonies that keeps us going. I'll say one other thing that really put me on my square. And I don't know if you all are familiar with Nipsey Hussle. He was from the Rolling 60s down in Los Angeles County, and the Rolling 60 Crips. And he was murdered due to gun violence, probably almost a couple of years or more now. And what Victor and I witnessed was tribe members across the entire nation coming together, putting their different rags. You know, Paul, you mentioned earlier, you know, some people had a blue rags, they had a red rags, the yellow rags, purple, black. These different rags symbolize different tribes. And so we saw tribe members, I mean, hundreds and thousands of them, come out of the woodworks when Nipsey Hussle was murdered. and they started tying their rags together.
Started a peace movement.
Started a peace movement. They said that we can unify. So they said, let's put down our differences. Let's put down our differences. And the memorial and grieving of the death of Nipsey Hussle brought tribe members together. And we were watching it. I remember even Nation of Islam, all these different groups came together during this time. Clergy came together. And for us watching it, I thought it was powerful. I'm like, look at all these tribe members. They're not fighting. They're standing right next to each other, crying together.
And you're talking about
together.
And you're talking about some of these tribe members that had beef with each other for 30 or 40 years.
Right.
30 or 40 years of bloodshed. Now they're hugging each other.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
The synergy that we experienced during that time, because we went right down there on Manchester where all this was happening. And it touched us.
Slauson and Crenshaw, to be exact.
Yeah.
Slauson and Crenshaw.
And it touched us. And so I looked at Victor. I said, this is what we need to be a part of.
A peace movement.
We need to be a part of bringing peace to our local city, Altadena, Pasadena, and surrounding cities. We need to keep this going because we often know that we'll see those moments, but then they kind of drift off or dwindle away. We wanted to say, let's keep this going. Let's continue having this type of peace and synergy that's really uplifting us all to a whole nother level of love and respect for one another. So that's what really got us going. And we just want to harness that peace that we saw. We want to harness that synergy that we saw amongst tribe members across this world and across this nation. And that's really our goal, is that we be able to set up hubs representing peace throughout the nation, allowing tribe members to come together in unity and give back to the community.
This is so inspiring. What I love, by the way, someone asked, can you say the acronym for peace again? Can you say, what does peace mean again?
Positive energy activates constant elevation.
Peace. Positive energy activates constant elevation. And that's what we all want to do, is have that type of positive energy that allows us all to rise, to elevate to the next level.
I want to grab something and show you. So I'm going to depart for 1 second, if you excuse me.
I'm going to grab something quickly. And while he's grabbing that, I'm going to share something, because this is one book I read a lot. It's called Ubuntu, Everyday Ubuntu. It says living better together. And it says here, I am only because you are. And when I think about tribe members, I think about our neighbors, our friends, our family, our loved ones. We're here. I think about you, Paul. I think about those that are here. We're here for one another. I believe we were created for a relationship. And positive relationships helps us all to grow. And I'm just going to read this really quick because I love this book. It says, Ubuntu means that if we can see everyone as connected to us, if we can all see each other as being connected, we will never be able to dehumanize others or treat them as without any worth. A lot of times that's what even gang members have experienced throughout the years, that people look at them so negative. Honestly, sometimes when you look at someone negative and that's the energy that you put out to them, they continue in that space. And so they feel like they don't have any worth, that people just look at them with their nose up, that they just, for whatever reasons, just continue to gravitate to that space. So I'm just going to continue what it says. It says, we will never be able to dehumanize others or treat them as without any worth. By embracing Ubuntu, we live in hope of overcoming division and becoming stronger together in a world where the wise build bridges. And so even when you mentioned, Paul, how, you kind of stand back, and this is what My Tribe Rise, we want to do. We want to build bridges of understanding, build bridges of being able to connect and correct these differences, correct things that have the wrongdoings that have happened in our community, and make a space and a way to build bridges.
That's marvelous. Yeah, can you show us that book again? Umbatu, you said it was called? Can
It's called Ubuntu. Everyday Ubuntu. It says living better together. The African way is Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
Yes, yes.
And I just wanted to show you why I stepped away. The front of our shirts, as you see, is My Tribe Rise, but the back of it is our acronym for peace, positive energy, that activates constant elevation. If you can see that.
Yes, yes.
And I would like Victor to share what those symbols mean.
Okay, the symbols on the bottom represent swords of war. I need to hold up so they can see it.
But he got a shirt that this is an older shirt, so the symbols are not showing as well. But
yeah, point to the first symbol, Emily. Okay, that represents swords of war, courage and valor. The next symbol represents the two linked hearts for togetherness. And the last symbol represents...
You have it written down.
Yeah, I have it written down. I think the last symbol was representing...
Each one of these symbols represents how at one time two rivaling groups come together in unity. I love this one in the middle. Tell me again what it talks about.
The two linked hearts. It's the two people coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
That's what it's all about, is bringing each other together, linking our hearts together. What the whole reason why God even created us is for us to come together for relationship, healthy relationship.
And also, I want to add, if it's any further information that you guys would like to learn about this, in regards to the gang culture, there's two movies that I recommend. They're on YouTube. You can pull it up on YouTube. It's free. One of them is called Redemption, starring Jamie Foxx, and it's called Redemption. And the second one, and I highly recommend this, because it gives from the origins of the beginning to the present. It's called Bastards of the Party.
And it just kind of gives a lot more background of how the rivalry started. Because I like to always recognize the fact that Crips and Bloods started to be community relation, community like resources, positive engagement. And then and then there became one incident. That's what I was thinking about. One incident can change the whole movement. And that's what happened. And then this one incident caused Bloods and Crips that were functioning in a positive way to start turning against each other. So since then, that has happened. And I think about the one guy. What was the guy who wrote a book just before he died that started the Crips?
Tookie Williams.
And Tookie Williams talked about how disappointed that he was, because he was a part of that when that rivalry started. And Tookie Williams talked about how he was so brokenhearted about the genocide that came about from starting this rivalry between Crips and Bloods.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. And it's called... And that origin movie was called Bastards of the Party. Is that the part?
It's a movie, and it's on YouTube, and it's free.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I loved about your approach with all of this is the inclusiveness of it. Because what I find in this world of polarization that we're in, it's just like there's this tendency to just like make somebody else wrong and bad. And we know that there's bad cops. We know that. But we also know that there's really good cops. There's cops that are really working towards something really good and meaningful, just like you are working. And we know that there's bad white folks, and we know that there's good black white folks, and we know there's bad blacks, and we could just go down the line. And so you're not entering that polarity, which is to make someone else wrong so that you can be right. You're entering into this inclusiveness. And I heard you say you're working with the tribes, you're working with the politicians, you're working with the police force. You're working just with everybody to try and bring them together. And tell us what that vision is when everybody does come together.
Because we really know that we are stronger together, and that if we unify, we can bring change, that we can really bring world peace. And that's what us all coming together, including what you all, when I love what it says, movement of spiritual inner awareness. And when we think about our spiritual inner awareness of how each one of us matters, and how when we all come together to really bring peace, it says, in all thy ways, get understanding and also get peace. If possible, any way possible that we can have peace brings us in a space where we can be stronger, because we can know how to respect and love one another. We can know how to exalt and lift one another up. And so it isn't, the community is all of us. That's why we think about, because we are a community-based organization. And so the community is not just Black people, it's not just white people, it's not just police, it's not just tribe members, it's everyone. We're all here together. So we have to find a way to live peaceably. I just love it. It's so touching my heart, and so in tune with our approach in the movement of spiritual inner awareness. And one of the principles that John Roger, who was the founder, said was about peace. He said, peace is present. So it's here. And he said, peace is the absence of againstness. Mm-hmm. And he also said that peace is a process. And so that sounds like what you're doing, all of it, right? It's the absence of againstness, the peace is present, and it's a process, and you're involved in that process of peace. And I can't tell you enough. I mean, this conversation has been so right on. Your website is mytriberise.com, right? Or .org.
.org.
mytriberise.org. And if you all would like to email us, we can be reached at peace@mytriberise.com. And the one thing that you mentioned about peace is that, and about being inclusive, is that is the main thing we are also about, is including and serving the needs of us all. And everybody in every status of life have a need, whether it's mental health, well-being, whether it's just spiritual health, whether it's physical health. And the reason I brought that up is because we really focus on also food insecurities and just the minimum survival needs that we all have. A lot of times that's what gets us all worked up or have do things that we may not want to do, is because we don't have the minimal things that we need. And that's why a lot of times people get into tribes and get into things that may not be as productive, because they're just in need and they're taking wherever they can to be able to survive. And so that's one of our main focus, is to focus on what we need as individuals, just to be able to be in a peace of mind. When you can eat, you're in a peace of mind. You got a roof over your head, you're at a peace of mind. If you can be able to have positive conversations and interaction, it brings a peace of mind.
Yeah, and one of the big things in the community why people do join gangs, I'll tell you, a lot of times it's a lack of love and a lack of resources.
Yeah, so true.
Wow.
So that's what we have to be radically in love with one another, radically compassionate about one another, and do our best to serve each other.
Yeah, and I also like to add, yes, our website is mytriberise.org. If you're interested in a t-shirt, we have t-shirts online that you can order. You can support us there as well. And we have a lot of videos
about what we do
of what we do, about these food giveaways, about these walking for peace that we was talking about.
Brothers connecting brothers. We do.
Look at the videos. It would enlighten you.
We have community dialogue. We do this monthly. We have community conversation where we could have up to 100, 150 people just come together and talk and have positive dialogue. So yeah, be sure to check out our website. Just so you know, the only way we operate is through the community. We, all of our donations, everything is just community based. So that's who fuels our mission, is the community. We have a tribe of support team members that go out and help us just serve. And so we would love for you all to help to join us, and we would love to support what you all are doing so we can come together and serve the community.
Well,
Be sure
definitely.
to check.
And you mentioned, you said peace at mytriberise.org, or yeah, that would
actually be we use both .com and .org. We just try to use .org because that's professional for our organization.
That's the nonprofit, yeah. So peace at mytriberise.org would work fine, right? If people wanted to connect with you. Well, I can't thank you enough. I mean, this has been so on target, and it just was everything I wanted in this interview. And just, you know, just to wrap this up, I do want to say that I loved what you talked about respect, because we can talk about love all day long, right? But what is it that we can do to love one another that really, and honor and respect to me is one of those key things. And it's just like, and I find more and more that healing is all about being seen and being heard. And that's when you talked about the love. They just need, and people need to be seen and heard. And I think that's so terrific. As I mentioned, the Heartfelt Foundation is our service branch. And, you know, we're very small, and we love to find organizations that we can really collaborate with and partner with, because you're doing work that in communities that we totally support. And as a result of this interview, the Heartfelt Foundation will be donating to My Tribe Rise $1,000. And we want you to, you know, have that as a fellow nonprofit organization. So congratulations again on winning this congressional award for Nonprofit Organization of the Year. What a joy to have you. And I'm hoping that we can continue. All the listeners, you know, it's being recorded. It's been simultaneously translated into Spanish. I hope we can, you know, a lot of people will listen to this. I'll be telling a lot of people to tune in, because your message is important. You're on the streets, like I said, literally, you're on the streets doing this work from your heart and keeping this love going. And I can't thank you enough. God bless you both. And I hope that we'll be seeing each other very shortly.
Thank you for having us. Yes. Peace and blessings.
Okay, God bless now. Bye-bye now. Thank you. And thank you to our technical team and Stella for hosting, Maria Jose Marignon for translating for us. God bless you all. Stay in touch with me, and we'll have, if you have your questions for Heavenly and Victor, we'll have them back, and we'll see, and we'll get an update and see how everything is going. Meanwhile, Heavenly and Victor, you're in our prayers. You're in our hearts. God bless you both again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. God bless now. Bye-bye.